What's hiding underneath things can be scary. Underwater, under your bed, especially what's under your carpet. Except when you get new carpet from Carpet One Floor and Home. After tearing up your old carpet, they'll vacuum and apply Health Annex antimicrobial to your subfloor, disinfecting and killing mold, mildew, and any remaining general awfulness. Carpet One Floor and Home goes the extra mile to protect you, your family, and your home. Carpet One Floor and Home in Columbia, making your home beautiful, guaranteed.
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends. This is Tuesday, November 3rd. We have been waiting for this date for many, many months. It's finally here, Election Day. And I hope that if you have not voted early, that you will be out voting today. It's so very important. All right, and we have as our special guest today on Election Day, MARILYN McLEOD from the League of Women Voters. Good to have you here, MARILYN.
Good to be here.
And when we were talking about this, MARILYN and I have talked on and off for months about how important it is for all of us to cast our vote, to have our voice be heard. But it's amazing how many times elections have been decided by very few votes, one way or the other, can make a big difference. So don't ever assume that your vote does not count, because every vote counts. And you have some examples here today, right?
I do. Well, the first one I'd say, which we've talked about all year with the centennial of the 19th Amendment, that it was one vote, literally, that ratified finally the 19th Amendment. So
yeah, for women to have a right to vote.
For women to have the right to vote. So never underestimate the value.
One vote. It was decided by one vote.
Right.
Okay. So that was a big one. What are some of the other ones?
Okay. Well, I explored for some information, and it turned out. Well, let me start with this. A lot of times, if you watch the election returns and there's a crawl on the screen,
right,
and you'll sometimes see like really small towns and they have like 10 people voting, and you'll see it's 5-4, and you'll say, see there, one vote makes a difference. But there have actually been bigger elections where one vote makes a difference or there's a tie. So I looked for some details, and I found a great article from National Public Radio, and if I may just share a couple of those stories. In 2017, which is not that long ago, a Virginia House of Delegates race ended in a tie out of more than 23,000 votes cast, which is amazing, isn't it?
A tie?
A tie out of
23,000 votes. So one vote could have made a difference one way or the other.
So the tie was broken by pulling a name placed in a film canister out of a bowl. They pulled the name of the winner, and that's how the final
You're
outcome.
kidding.
No, I remember this at the time. A Republican named David Lancey was declared the winner, and the result meant that the Republicans gained control of the state house in Virginia by that seat.
By pulling his name out of a bowl
Yes.
because it was a tie.
Yeah.
Now, you could imagine there were some people out there who didn't vote, and they're probably kicking themselves in the behind because they said, I could have voted, and I could have made a difference.
Exactly. So there are lots of cases like this, which I was surprised that they weren't just in little tiny towns.
Right.
They were bigger races. Well, here was one in 2008 in the U.S. Senate race. Democrat Al Franken defeated the Republican Norm Coleman by just 312 votes out of 2.9 million votes cast. 312 out of 2.9 million.
Okay.
And his win gave the Democrats at that time a 60-vote majority in the U.S. Senate.
Right.
So it just shows you 312, how many people live in a couple of blocks, where you live.
Could vote, right.
Yeah.
Now, the one that sticks in my mind because I remember it very well, you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yes.
The Hanging Chad. The Hanging Chad. And that was down in Florida, and that was a presidential election between Al Gore and George Bush.
Right.
That election was not decided until December, right?
Right.
And I remember every day we were going on, and they were counting and recounting. What finally happened there?
Well, went to court. A couple of court cases ended up at the U.S. Supreme Court. And George Bush won by one vote.
In the
US
Supreme Court.
Right. Out of, and he actually won by a 537 vote margin out of 6 million votes cast.
And that was in Florida.
That was in Florida. So there's this truth be told that your vote really does count. And
now, why did it end up in the Supreme Court if he had won in Florida by 536 votes?
Well, I'll tell you, it was really complicated. It was pretty complicated because the Florida Supreme Court had ruled in one way, and then it just kept getting challenged. You know, these things just keep getting challenged till they ended up
I
there.
remember during that period, I just kept thinking, when are we ever going to know? And finally, it had to be decided by that date in December because the electors had to vote.
Right. There was sort of there was a deadline. So that was the final decision. And I think initially Al Gore conceded, and then it turned around. He said no, he wasn't going to concede, and then it just kept going, making its way through the courts. So it's interesting that can happen. One of the things that we've seen is the Electoral College, of course, in America, makes the decision.
Correct.
As opposed to the popular vote. And there have been a number of elections over the many years of America.
Well, this last one was one where Trump won the Electoral College, but he lost the popular vote.
Exactly.
And there was another time, several other times, weren't there?
Yeah, technically, actually, the Gore.
Yes,
Bush
where
was
Gore won the popular vote,
right.
but he lost the Electoral College.
Right. So it's happened in history, and sometimes there have been what we call near misses, where it almost happened, because right now there are just some states that are called swing states, where the outcome isn't known. It's sort of could be a tie, could be very close, where you notice that if you watch the news, the candidates are always in the swing states.
Exactly.
So,
and Pennsylvania is one of those.
Right. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio. So that's where they go. And that's kind of the sad part, that just those few states make a difference, as opposed to having, for example, the candidates coming to all the states.
Right.
They just go to a few.
Well, hopefully this year we will not be hanging on until the end of December. Hopefully we'll know the answer. The important thing to do is, if you have not voted, please go out and vote. And make sure when you go out and vote that you wear that mask. Now, I voted early, and we were fortunate here in Boone County. I voted several weeks ago, and you just go down to that's a city-county building, and they had a tent set up outside. You go and you ask for your ballot, and they ask the reason why. I said, well, COVID concern. They give you the ballot, you vote, you put it in the machine, and that was that. It was very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
MARILYN McLEOD, thank you so much for coming and sharing your expertise today from the League of Women Voters. Always a pleasure to chat with you. You did a great job on that research.
Great, thank you.
She didn't sleep all night long thinking about this today. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Drop me an email, pepperp@missouri.edu, and vote, and wear that mask, all right? Bye-bye.